The same school that printed driver only under my name later told me I had no right to take Sophie out of the building. That is the part people remember when I tell it now. They picture the aftercare office, the glass window, the secretary lowering her voice, a 12-year-old girl sitting on a bench with her backpack in her lap, waiting for a mother who was not answering and a grandmother who had been quietly removed from the list. But that was not where the story began. It began 2 weeks earlier, when Melissa asked me to find old photos of Sophie for a working mother's feature at her company. Nothing fancy, she told me over the phone. Just a few pictures from when she was little. School events, zoo trips, birthdays. Things that show how far we've come. How far we've come. I remember smiling at that phrase because I thought she meant all of us. So I spent an entire afternoon going through boxes in my hall closet. I found Sophie at 6 with missing front teeth, holding my hand at the Columbus Zoo. Sophie at 8 in my kitchen, wearing one of my aprons while we burned the first batch of Valentine cookies. Sophie at 10, asleep on my couch with a fever, one sock half off, her hair stuck damply to her forehead. I sent Melissa 11 pictures. In 7 of them, I was cropped close enough to be removed. I did not notice that then. I only noticed the badge. It was clipped to a blue lanyard, the kind schools reuse until the plastic goes cloudy at the edges. A student volunteer at Maple Ridge Middle School handed it to me at the check-in table and smiled the way polite children smile at older women they have been told to respect. "Here you go, ma'am." I looked down, expecting to see my name. And I did. Linda Harper. Underneath it, in thick black letters, were 2 words. Volunteer driver. Not grandmother. Not family. Not emergency contact. Not the woman who kept a spare inhaler in her purse because Sophie sometimes forgot hers in her locker. Not the woman who knew Sophie needed apples sliced thin but not peeled. Not the woman who had been called at work, at church, at the grocery store, and once from the shower because Melissa could not leave a client call and Sophie was throwing up in the nurse's office. Volunteer driver. Across the lobby, on the reserved family table near the auditorium doors, another badge waited beside a stack of programs. That one had a gold sticker pressed into the corner. Grandmother, Carol Reed. Carol Reed was already in the front row, ankles crossed, silver bracelets stacked neatly on her wrist, smiling at people she did not know as if she had been coming to Sophie's school events for years. She had missed 5 birthdays. 3 Christmas concerts. Peter's funeral. 1 emergency room visit. The year Sophie cried every Wednesday because the divorce schedule changed. But she had the grandmother badge. I had the driver one. I stood there with my coat still buttoned and my purse strap cutting into my shoulder, holding a little square of laminated paper that told everyone exactly where my stepdaughter had decided I belonged. Melissa saw me notice it. She crossed the lobby quickly, but not too quickly. Melissa never rushed in public. She had built a life out of looking composed even when the stove was smoking, the child was crying, and she had 12 minutes to get onto a sales call. "Linda," she said softly, her mouth shaped into the kind of smile meant for people watching from a distance. "Please don't make this uncomfortable tonight." I looked at her. I did not speak right away because I wanted to give her one clean chance to say it had been a mistake. Her blouse was cream. Her earrings were small gold hoops. Her phone was already open to the camera app. Behind her, Sophie stood near the auditorium doors in a navy dress, twisting the strap of her purse around one finger. Sophie's eyes flicked to my badge. Then to her mother. Then away. "It's just a badge," Melissa said. "Just." Peter used to tell me that whenever somebody puts the word "just" in front of something, they are usually trying to shrink a thing that has already gotten too honest. Just a joke. Just a form. Just a misunderstanding. Just a badge. I clipped it to my sweater. That is the part one still think about. I did not remove it. I did not hand it back. I did not ask the girl at the table for a different one. I did not walk to the front row and point at Carol's chair. I put the badge on because Sophie was watching. Some humiliations are not yours to interrupt when a child is standing in the splash zone. So I walked into the auditorium behind them. The place smelled like floor wax, damp coats, and the sharp metal scent of folding chairs. The 7th grade science awards had drawn more families than expected, so the front section was marked with paper signs that said reserved family. Carol sat there with Melissa beside her, both of them framed under the stage lights. I found a seat on the aisle, 5 rows back. Not hidden. Not included. A place between. The program was folded in my purse. I had picked it up from the office that afternoon when I dropped off Sophie's display labels because Melissa had forgotten them on her kitchen counter. On the cover, in Sophie's careful handwriting, was the title of her project. Why Some Plants Grow Toward Light. I had helped her glue those labels. I had burned my thumb on the hot glue gun. I had driven to 3 different stores looking for full-spectrum bulbs because Sophie said she wanted the project to be real science, not kitchen science. I had sat with her at my dining table while she measured bean sprouts with a ruler and whispered that she hated speaking in front of people. I had told her, just look for my face. I'll be there. And there I was. 5 rows back, wearing a plastic badge that said volunteer driver. The principal tapped the microphone. It squealed, and half the room winced. A toddler 2 rows ahead dropped a plastic cup. It rolled under a chair and stopped against my shoe. I leaned down to pick it up, and the movement made my badge swing forward. Volunteer driver. The words flashed under the lights. I tucked the badge inside my cardigan. That small act, hiding a label someone else had given me, was the first honest thing I did all night. When Sophie's name was called, she stepped onto the stage with her shoulders pulled high. She searched the front row first because children search where they are taught to search. Carol raised both hands and clapped with bright, theatrical pride. Melissa held her phone up, recording. Then Sophie's eyes moved past them. They found me. I smiled. Not big. Not enough to make her cry. Just enough to say, I came. She smiled back, and for one moment, the badge did not matter. The principal said, Sophie Reed, for outstanding curiosity and persistence in environmental science. Curiosity and persistence. I almost laughed. Those were the exact words I had written on the note taped to Sophie's lunch bag 2 weeks earlier, after her first tray of seedlings molded and she cried at my kitchen table because she thought she had ruined everything. Science is mostly curiosity and persistence. Try again after school. She had kept that note in the pocket of her backpack for 3 days. Melissa posted a picture that night. I saw it at 10:47, sitting alone at my kitchen table with a cup of tea I had forgotten to drink. The caption read, So proud of my girl. Raised her to never give up. Carol commented first. My brilliant granddaughter. So grateful I could be here. Then Carol posted her own photo. 3 generations together again. In the photo, Carol stood beside Melissa and Sophie near the stage. Sophie's ribbon was pinned to her dress. Melissa looked polished and proud. Carol looked like she had been present for every scraped knee, every fever, every forgotten permission slip. At the far edge of the photo, almost cropped out, was my hand. Just my hand. You could see my fingers holding Sophie's poster tube because she had asked me to carry it while Melissa took pictures. I stared at that hand for a long time. A hand that had packed lunches. A hand that had signed reading logs. A hand that had held a feverish forehead in urgent care. A hand left in the corner of someone else's story. My name was nowhere. That was not new. What was new was that I could finally see the shape of the thing. For 10 years, I had told myself love did not need titles. For 10 years, I had accepted odd little absences because I did not want to be the needy second wife, the woman who came after Peter's first marriage and expected too much from people still loyal to the first version of the family. I was 59 years old that night. Old enough to know better. Young enough to hate admitting I had been foolish. Peter and I married when Melissa was 22. She was already grown, already guarded, already convinced no woman who married her father after her mother left could be anything but temporary. I never tried to replace Carol. I did not ask Melissa to call me Mom. I did not correct people when they introduced me as Peter's wife instead of stepmother. I learned to move around their history like furniture in a dark room. Then Sophie was born. Everything changed because babies do not care about adult definitions. Sophie grabbed my finger in the hospital room with her whole fist, and I was gone. Not because I thought she belonged to me, but because loving a child is sometimes less like making a decision and more like hearing your name called from another room. Melissa was exhausted in those first months. Her husband, Eric, was in and out even before the divorce papers. Peter had a bad knee and could not handle long days, so I came over. At first it was Tuesdays. Then Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then any morning Melissa had an early client call. Then dentist appointments, teacher conferences, winter coat shopping, library days, sick days, snow days, the kind of half-day schools announce like parents have nothing else on earth to do. Sophie called me Nana Lynn before anyone told her not to. Melissa let it happen when Sophie was small because toddler words are convenient until they begin meaning something in public. After Peter died, I thought they might drift away. Sophie was 8 then. Grief made her clingy. Divorce made Melissa impatient. Work made everything urgent. Instead of drifting away, they needed me more. I kept a calendar on my refrigerator with Sophie's school colors, practice times, picture days, half-days, allergy notes, library due dates, and Melissa's travel schedule marked in red. I did not mind. That is the part people misunderstand. I did not resent helping. I resented learning, slowly and then all at once, that my help was welcome only if my name stayed small. The morning after the award ceremony, I woke before 6 out of habit. Tuesdays were orchestra mornings. Sophie played the viola badly and with deep commitment. She needed to be at school by 7:15 because the string teacher believed children performed better before sunrise, a theory I did not support but had transported faithfully. My phone buzzed at 6:08. Melissa, can you grab Soph? I have a 7 o'clock with Denver. No mention of the badge. No mention of the front row. No thank you for coming. Just the usual assumption sliding into my kitchen with the dawn. I stood barefoot on the linoleum, reading the message while the coffee maker hissed. My first instinct was to answer, on my way. Muscle memory is harder to break than loyalty. Instead, I typed, is Carol taking her? The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Melissa, Mom's flight is this afternoon. She's packing. Mom. I had never seen Melissa type that word about Carol without a little edge in it. Carol had missed Melissa's 30th birthday. Carol had sent Sophie a birthday card with the wrong age written inside. Carol had not come when Peter died because, according to her, funerals were too emotionally complicated after divorce. But she was Mom. I was Linda. I typed, I can do it today. Then I deleted today and rewrote the sentence. I can do it. At 6:42, Sophie climbed into my car with her viola case and a piece of toast wrapped in a napkin. You okay? I asked. She shrugged. 12-year-olds can put an entire trial into one shrug. I pulled away from the curb. Melissa's porch light stayed on behind us. The house was a 2-story colonial Peter had helped her buy after the divorce by lending her money she never called a loan. I had helped paint Sophie's bedroom lavender. I had stocked the pantry every fall with the granola bars she liked. I knew which drawer held the thermometer and where Melissa hid the spare batteries. But I had never had a key that said family. I had a spare key on a ring Melissa labeled Linda, emergencies. Sophie stared out the passenger window. Nana Lynn, she said, so softly I nearly missed it. My hands tightened on the wheel. She almost never called me that anymore unless she was tired, scared, or forgetting not to. Did Grandma Carol do okay last night? What do you mean? Mom said she was nervous because she doesn't know everyone yet. Yet. As if Carol were entering a role I had been warming for her. She looked happy to be there, I said. Sophie nodded, but her face remained pinched. At the stoplight, she touched the zipper on her viola case. Mom said you don't like big family stuff. I looked at her then. Did she? She said you're more comfortable helping behind the scenes. The light turned green. A truck honked behind me because I did not move fast enough. Helping behind the scenes. That was the first phrase that lodged under my skin. Not because it was false exactly. I did help behind the scenes. I preferred quiet tasks, practical ones. But when someone takes your preference for humility and turns it into permission to erase you, the language can sound almost flattering. You can like helping, I said carefully, and still want to be seen. Sophie looked down. I saw you, she whispered. I had to blink hard before turning into the school lot. The drop-off lane was already moving slowly, a line of parents half awake and annoyed. Sophie gathered her viola. Don't forget your lunch, I said. You made it? Turkey, no tomato. Apples cut thin. The square crackers, not the round ones. That almost earned a smile. She opened the door, then turned back. Mom said you might not come to the spring concert because Grandma Carol will probably come back. The line behind me moved. Someone waved impatiently. I haven't decided yet, I said. It was the first time I had not automatically promised to be there. Sophie nodded like she had expected that answer, and the little click of her door shutting sounded much louder than it should have. I drove home with the radio off. At 8:13, Melissa texted, "Thanks. You're a lifesaver." A lifesaver is useful. A lifesaver is grabbed in a crisis. A lifesaver is thrown back when the water calms. I did not answer. By noon, I had found the badge still in my cardigan pocket. I set it on the kitchen table beside a stack of mail and looked at it while I ate half a banana for lunch. It looked harmless there, a piece of laminated paper with my name in a font someone had chosen because it was cheerful. Linda Harper. Volunteer driver. I put it in the junk drawer. Then I took it out and placed it in an envelope. I did not know why. Not yet. At 3 o'clock, I went to Maple Ridge Middle School. I told myself I was going to ask a simple question. That was how I had survived years of uncomfortable moments with Melissa. I gave myself practical reasons so I would not have to admit the emotional ones. I was not going to confront anyone. I was not going to cause trouble. I just wanted to know who made the badges. The school office had a glass window with a little metal slot beneath it. A fake fern sat in the corner. A bulletin board displayed flyers about robotics club, spring track, and a fundraiser for new band uniforms. The woman behind the desk looked up from a computer. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "I'm Linda Harper. I was at the Science Awards last night. There may have been a mistake with my visitor badge." She smiled the tired smile of someone who had already handled lunch money disputes and a lost retainer before noon. "What kind of mistake?" "It listed me as a volunteer driver." Her fingers moved over the keyboard. "Student name?" "Sophie Reed. 7th grade." She typed. Her expression did not change at first. Then she leaned slightly closer to the screen. Okay, she said slowly. I see you here. Could I ask what category I'm under? She hesitated. That hesitation was the second thing that told me it was not a mistake. You are listed as an approved pickup adult, she said. Only pickup? Let me check the emergency contact page. She clicked again. The printer behind her hummed and stopped. Somewhere down the hall, lockers slammed. She looked back at me. You were previously listed as emergency contact too. Previously? Yes, ma'am. It looks like the form was updated last month. By whom? I'm not sure I can share account details, but parent submissions come through the family portal. I felt my face get warm, but my voice stayed even. Who is emergency contact to now? She glanced at the screen, then at me, then toward a closed office door. Ms. Harper, would you like to speak with Mr. Alvarez? That was when the careful politeness shifted into caution. Mr. Alvarez was assistant principal, though everyone called him vice principal because middle school titles have a way of flattening themselves in public. I had met him twice, once when Sophie forgot her inhaler during a field trip, and once when Melissa had been unreachable after Sophie threw up during lunch. Both times, I had signed her out. Both times, no one had asked whether I was family. His office smelled faintly of coffee and dry erase markers. Framed student thank you notes covered one wall. He shook my hand with both of his. Ms. Harper. I remember you. I'm sorry to come in without an appointment. No problem. Is Sophie okay? The fact that he asked that first softened me. She's fine. I'm here about the contact records. He sat down slowly. I did not have to explain much. The office secretary had already sent him something on his computer. He read for a moment, lips pressed together. I understand why this feels upsetting, he said. It doesn't feel upsetting. It is upsetting. He nodded once. Fair. That single word nearly undid me. Not because it solved anything, but because it did not argue with my reality. I was given a badge last night that said volunteer driver, I said. And I'd like to know whether the school made that determination or whether it came from Sophie's parent record. The badges pull from the family portal labels, he said. We don't manually assign those unless there's a special event note. And mine said volunteer driver because that is how I am listed? His eyes moved to the screen. You're listed as approved pickup, non-family. Non-family. There are words that do not hurt because they are surprising. They hurt because they confirm what you have been trying not to know. Was I ever listed differently? Mr. Alvarez folded his hands on the desk. I can't print the full record for you without parent authorization. I'm not asking for a copy. No. But I can answer generally. He looked at the office door as if measuring how careful he needed to be. There was an update submitted in late February. Before that, you had a different category. What category? His jaw moved slightly. Family emergency contact. I looked down at my purse. Late February. That was when Carol had called Melissa to say she might visit in spring. I remembered because Melissa had come over that night, irritated and restless, and eaten 3 pieces of toast standing at my counter while saying, now she wants to play grandmother. Of course. I had said, maybe Sophie will enjoy having her here. Melissa had looked at me sharply. You don't have to be noble about everything, Linda. I thought she had meant I did not have to pretend Carol's return did not hurt. Now I wondered if she had been warning me not to get comfortable. Who replaced me? I asked. Mr. Alvarez did not answer immediately. You don't have to say, I told him. But he did. Carol Reed. I sat very still. Through the office window, I could see students moving down the hall in small packs, laughing, bumping shoulders, full of the careless cruelty of not yet understanding paperwork. One boy dropped his binder and paper slid everywhere. A girl stopped to help him. Ordinary kindness in an ordinary hallway. My hands were cold. Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. For what it's worth, Miss Harper, staff know you. You've been very involved. Involved. Another careful word. Can I still pick Sophie up? I asked. Yes, unless the parent changes that. So I'm allowed to do the work. He said nothing. But not allowed to have the relationship. He looked genuinely pained then. I'm sorry. That apology was not his to give, but I took it anyway because it was the only one offered. When I stood to leave, he said, sometimes forms don't tell the whole story. I turned at the door. No, I said. But they tell what someone was willing to put in writing. I went home and opened my laptop. This was not dramatic work. No thunder. No music. No secret file falling out of a drawer. Just an old woman at a kitchen table, though I did not think of myself as old until other people began using my age as a reason to manage me, logging into bank accounts with reading glasses sliding down her nose. The after-school arts program was $145 a month. The orchestra equipment rental was $28. Science camp deposit, $75. Lunch account refill, $60 every few weeks. Digital learning fee, $35. Fundraiser donation, $100, listed as Sophie Reed, family sponsor. Most of these charges had started as one-time favors. Melissa would text from an airport or a client dinner. Mom brain, forgot the payment deadline. Can you cover? I'll Venmo you. Sometimes she did. Often she did not. I had never chased her. It felt vulgar to chase family for money, especially when the money was for Sophie. I had a pension, modest but steady. Peter had left me the house free and clear, though not much else. I did not travel. I did not buy new clothes unless the old ones gave up. I did not eat out much. I told myself helping Sophie was the best use of spare money. But that day, I made a list. Not to punish anyone. To see. Seeing is different from suspecting. Suspecting lets you excuse. Seeing starts removing the places where excuses can hide. I went back through 3 years. The total was $6,842.17. That did not include gas. It did not include groceries. It did not include the Viola tuner, winter boots, birthday cupcakes, poster boards, printer ink, Halloween costume fabric, emergency inhaler copays, book fare money, or the countless $10 things too small to remember and too constant to ignore. $6,842.17. For a child, I was not allowed to call my granddaughter in front of the wrong people. I printed the list. Then I put it in the same envelope as the badge. That evening, Melissa came by without calling first. She had always done that when she needed something and did not want to give me time to think. Her car pulled into my driveway at 6:20, tires crunching over the gravel strip Peter had never gotten around to paving. I saw her through the kitchen window before she knocked. She entered with a tote bag, a laptop under one arm, phone pressed between cheek and shoulder. Yes, Thursday should work if Denver confirms, she was saying. No, I'll have childcare handled. Childcare. She kissed the air near my cheek while still listening to the call, mouthed sorry, then pointed toward my coffee maker. I poured her a cup because habits do not ask permission. She ended the call and dropped into a chair. What a day. I sat across from her. Sophie did well last night, I said. Melissa smiled, but her attention was already on her laptop. She did. Mom was so proud. I waited. No correction came. Carol enjoyed it? I asked. She did. Honestly, it meant a lot to her. She's trying. After 5 years? Melissa's fingers stopped over the keyboard. Linda. One word. Warning wrapped in fatigue. I'm asking. She's my mother. I know. And she's Sophie's grandmother. I could feel the kitchen shift around that sentence. The clock over the stove ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked twice, then stopped. What am I? I asked. Melissa closed her laptop halfway. Please don't do this. Do what? Make a school badge into some kind of family trial. I went to the school today. That landed. Her face changed so quickly most people would have missed it. A tightening at the mouth. A flicker in the eyes. Not guilt exactly. Annoyance at exposure. Why would you do that? Because my badge said volunteer driver. It's an event system. Half those badges were wrong. Mine pulled from the family portal. She looked away. There are silences that deny and silences that confess. Hers did neither. It calculated. Okay, she said at last. I updated some things. Why? Because paperwork needs to be accurate. I almost smiled. Family forms have to be accurate. Mr. Alvarez's phrase had already returned, wearing Melissa's face. Accurate, I repeated. Yes. Mom is Sophie's biological grandmother. She stopped. I waited. You're Peter's wife, she said. Peter's wife. For years after his funeral, that was the category she chose for me. I said. Her eyes softened for a second, but only a second. I'm not trying to hurt you. Then what are you trying to do? I'm trying to simplify things. For whom? For everyone. For school. For Sophie. For my mother. For me. It gets confusing when people assume. When they assume I'm family? She rubbed her forehead. You are making this sound uglier than it is. No. I think I'm finally making it sound exactly as ugly as it is. Melissa leaned back. This is what I was worried about. You get attached, and then everything becomes a loyalty test. I had heard versions of that before. When I asked why Sophie's birthday invitation said grandparents welcome, but Melissa told me it was really just for immediate family. When I noticed Carol's name had been added to the Christmas card before mine. When I asked why Sophie stopped calling me Nana Lynn at school events. You're making it a thing. You're too sensitive. Don't put Sophie in the middle. You like feeling needed. That last one had seemed gentle the first time. It did not anymore. I have been picking up your daughter 3 days a week, I said. Sometimes 4. I have been paying school fees you forgot. I have been sitting at doctors' offices, orchestra rooms, science nights, dentist chairs, and parent lines. If I'm not family, why do you keep giving me family work? Her face flushed. Because you offered. The room went quiet. That was the cruelty of it. Not the volume. Not the wording. The neatness. The way she slid all the weight back into my hands. I offered because I loved her. And no one is saying you don't. You're saying I can love her in private and disappear in public. That's not fair. Is it false? She stood up, gathering her tote bag though she had not drunk the coffee. You're not actually her grandmother, Linda. There it was. Not shouted. Not spat. Spoken in the tone of someone stating a legal fact. I looked at the mug in front of her. Coffee untouched, cream swirling pale at the top. For some reason, that was what I remembered later. Not her face. The coffee. The way I had made it exactly how she liked and she left it cooling on my table. I know, I said. She blinked. I think she expected me to fight that sentence. I had fought it quietly for years, with casseroles and car rides and birthday gifts and every "of course I can" text I had ever sent. But I did not fight it then. I only said, I know. She looked unsettled. I don't want Sophie hurt, she said. Neither do I. Then don't pull away from her because you're mad at me. That was the hook. She knew exactly where to place it. I need time, I said. Her mouth tightened again. Time for what? To decide what accurate means. She left without saying goodbye. At 9:02 that night, Sophie texted me. Are you mad? I stared at those 3 words until the screen dimmed. Then I wrote back, not at you. Never at you. She answered, Mom says grown-ups get weird about labels. I almost typed a long explanation. I wanted to tell her labels decide who gets called when a child is sick, who sits in the front row, who gets thanked, who gets erased. I wanted to tell her some labels are small until they are used as locks. But she was 12. So I wrote, sometimes grown-ups use labels when they're afraid of saying what they really mean. She did not respond for 6 minutes. Then, are you coming Thursday? Thursday was science fair family night. I looked at the envelope on my table. The badge. The bank list. I wrote, yes. Because I was not ready to break a child's heart just because her mother had bruised mine. Science fair night was held in the gym, where folding tables stood in rows beneath basketball hoops. Trifold boards filled the space with hand-lettered titles, Volcano Pressure, Do Plants Like Music, Which Soap Kills the Most Germs, and one alarming project about mold growth that should never have been placed near the bake sale table. Sophie's board stood near the windows. We had covered it in dark green paper and bordered it with yellow ribbon because she said plants deserved sun colors. The bean sprouts sat in small pots, each marked with a label. Full light. Partial light. No light. The no-light plant had grown pale and thin, reaching in the wrong direction. I thought about that too much. Melissa arrived 10 minutes late with Carol beside her. Carol wore a silk scarf printed with tiny lemons and carried a bouquet of grocery store flowers as if Sophie had performed at Carnegie Hall. Grandma's here, Melissa called brightly. Sophie stiffened before smiling. I was standing behind the table, adjusting a fallen label. The scissors in my hand suddenly felt childish. Carol hugged Sophie and turned toward the board. Oh, honey, this is wonderful. Your mother told me how hard you worked. Carol leaned closer to Sophie's board, touching the corner of the green display paper like she had helped cut it herself. I'm just glad I made it back in time, she said, loud enough for the nearby parents to hear. Kids grow up so fast. You miss a few years, and suddenly they start thinking anyone who drives them around is family. She laughed lightly after she said it. No one else did. Sophie's eyes dropped to the bean sprouts. Melissa's smile froze for half a second, then returned because Melissa was very good at returning her face to the version people expected. I stood behind the table with a roll of tape in my hand. Anyone who drives them around. That was how Carol said it. Not cruel enough for anyone to call out. Not kind enough to misunderstand. Just sharp enough to tell me she knew exactly which chair she had been given, and exactly who had been moved out of it. Sophie looked at me. It was the smallest glance. Too small for Carol. Not too small for Melissa. Melissa stepped between us and touched Sophie's shoulder. Tell Grandma Carol about your hypothesis. Sophie began explaining. Her voice trembled at first, then steadied. She knew her work. She knew which tray molded and why. She knew how light affected growth hormones because we had watched 3 videos and read 2 articles together on my old laptop, pausing every few minutes so she could write notes in purple pen. A woman I recognized from pickup lines stopped by with her son. Great job, Sophie, she said. Then she smiled at me. Linda, this turned out beautifully. I knew it would after seeing you haul all those supplies last week. Carol's eyebrows lifted. Melissa's smile held, but barely. Oh, Linda helped with some driving, she said. Sophie did the work. The woman glanced at the display, then at me. Something passed over her face. She knew. Not the whole thing, maybe, but enough. Of course, she said. Still, it's nice when kids have people who show up. That line stayed with me. People who show up. No title. No blood. No badge. Just the truth of presence. After she walked away, Melissa turned to me. Can I talk to you for a second? We moved near the bleachers. The gym noise wrapped around us. You're making Mom feel awkward, she said. I haven't said anything to Carol. You don't have to. You stand there looking wounded, and people pick up on it. I am wounded. Linda. No, don't say my name like I'm misbehaving. She lowered her voice. This is Sophie's night. I know. That's why I'm standing here quietly. You're not quiet. You're visibly quiet. I almost laughed. It was such a Melissa phrase, polished and absurd. Visibly quiet. You mean I'm not pretending well enough? I mean you're making the room tense. The room was fine until someone mentioned I helped. She didn't need to say it like that. Like what? Like you did everything. I didn't do everything. Sophie did the project. I bought the lights, the boards, the soil, the labels, the replacement seeds, the timer, and the little clip-on lamp because your garage outlet didn't work. I picked her up for 3 weeks so she could measure the plants at my house. I printed the graphs because your printer was out of ink. Those are facts, Melissa. They don't take anything away from Sophie. They take away from me. There it was, not fully meant to be said. It slipped out before she could dress it up. I waited. Her face changed. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. I mean people already judge working mothers. They see one gray-haired woman helping and suddenly they think I'm not handling my own child. Are you? She stared at me. I had never asked her a question that direct. A flush climbed her neck. You don't get to talk to me like that. No, I said quietly. That's the problem. I get to do almost everything else. She looked toward Sophie, who was now explaining chlorophyll to Carol. Carol was nodding too much. You always make things sentimental, Melissa said. And you always make them practical when feeling guilty would be more honest. She stepped back as if I had slapped her. Maybe I had, in the only way I knew how. That night, Sophie won second place. Melissa posted another photo. This time, the caption read, Sophie worked so hard on this project. Proud mom moment. Carol commented with 12 heart emojis. No mention of me. At 11:16, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I did not have saved. Hi Linda, this is Priya Patel, Aiden's mom from Science Fair. I hope this isn't overstepping, but I thought you should see this. Under it was a screenshot from a parent group chat. Melissa Reed, Linda gets intense about recognition. She's great with rides and errands, and honestly she likes feeling useful, but we're trying to keep family roles clear now that my mom is back. The screenshot had been taken at 8:47 p.m. while I was still in the gym. While Sophie's second place ribbon was still pinned to her board. While Melissa was standing 3 feet away from me saying this was Sophie's night. I read the message once. Then again. The words did not break me immediately. They settled. There is a kind of pain that takes its time because it knows it has nowhere else to go. Likes feeling useful. Family roles clear. Now that my mom is back. Back from where? Arizona? Absence? Convenient reinvention? I set the phone face down on the kitchen table. Then I got up and washed the mug Melissa had left 2 nights earlier. It had sat by the sink because some part of me was still waiting for her to come back and finish the conversation. I washed it carefully. Dried it. Put it in the cabinet. Then I took down a small cardboard box from the hall closet. Inside were Sophie things. A paper hand turkey from kindergarten. A bookmark she made me with yarn tassels. 3 school photos. A Mother's Day card she had given me in 2nd grade, after her teacher told the class they could make cards for any woman who takes care of you. Melissa had seen it on my fridge and gone quiet for 2 days. At the bottom was a birthday card from when Sophie turned 9. The front had a drawing of 2 stick figures standing beside a car. One had glasses and gray hair. The other had pigtails. Inside, in Sophie's lopsided printing, it said, "You always come when Mom forgets." I sat on the floor with that card in my lap. That sentence had made me laugh when she wrote it. Kids say sharp things by accident. I had shown it to Peter's photo on the mantel and said, "Well, at least I'm dependable." Now it did not feel funny. It felt like a record. A witness. The child had seen everything before I had let myself name it. You always come when Mom forgets. That was my role. Not grandmother. Not family. Not even volunteer driver, really. I was the person who came when Melissa forgot, overbooked, minimized, outsourced, or could not be bothered to make Sophie the first thing. And because I came, Melissa could keep forgetting. I slept poorly that night. Around 4 in the morning, I woke and thought I heard Peter in the hallway. Not a ghost, not anything dramatic. Just the old house sound of pipes settling in a pattern that resembled his careful footsteps. Peter had been a gentle man, which is not the same as a brave one. He loved Melissa, but he had also feared her disappointment. He called it keeping peace. I had called it that too because marriage teaches you to share not only a house but vocabulary. When Melissa excluded me from family photos, he would squeeze my knee under the table and say, "She'll come around." When she introduced me as Dad's wife 15 years after the wedding, he would sigh in the car and say, "She's still processing." When Sophie first called me Nana Lynn and Melissa corrected her to Linda in front of everyone at Thanksgiving, Peter washed dishes for 45 minutes after dinner and said, "Don't let it ruin the day." Still processing became the carpet under everything. I do not blame him. Not exactly. He was a father trying not to lose his daughter after a divorce he did not choose. But he also left me a family system where I had to be endlessly understanding and almost never understood. The morning after the screenshot, I made oatmeal and could not eat it. At 7:03, Melissa texted, "Can you take Soph to orthodontist tomorrow?" 3:40, I have a regional call. I watched the message sit there. Then I typed, "No." 1 word. My thumb hovered. I had said no before, but always with padding. "No, I'm sorry, I have an appointment." "No, but I can do Friday." "No, I wish I could." This time I sent only no. She answered in less than a minute. "Melissa, is this because of last night?" I did not answer. "Melissa, Linda." "Melissa, seriously?" "Melissa, this is exactly what I mean. You're punishing Sophie because your feelings got hurt." I put the phone in the drawer. At noon, Sophie texted, "Mom says you can't take me tomorrow." I sat at my kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea. I typed, "I'm sorry, honey. I can't." She replied, "Did I do something wrong?" No adult should ever place a child in a position where that question makes sense. I wrote, "No. This is grown-up stuff. I love you." The bubbles appeared, then disappeared. Then, Mom says you're mad because Grandma Carol came. That was Melissa's first real move. Not the badge. Not the form. The rewrite. If she could make my pain look like jealousy, my boundary would look selfish. A few minutes later, another message came through. Sophie, Mom said maybe you only helped because Grandpa Peter made you feel responsible for us. I stared at that sentence until the letters blurred. Peter had been gone 4 years, and still his name could be used as a handle to move me around. I typed 3 different answers and deleted all of them. No, sweetheart, I loved you before I knew anyone expected me to. No, your grandfather did not make me keep granola bars in my glove compartment. No, responsibility is not the same as love, and your mother should know that by now. But Sophie was 12, and none of those answers belonged on her shoulders. So I wrote. Your grandpa loved you. I love you too. Those are separate things, and both are true. She did not answer for a long time. Then she sent back. Okay. Just okay. I had never hated a small word more. I thought about calling Sophie, but what would I say? Your mother is using you. Your grandmother is a symbol. I have been erased in ways you are too young to carry. No. Children should not be used as evidence, even when they are the only witnesses who know the truth. I wrote, I'm glad Carol came to see you. More people loving you is a good thing. My issue is not with you. She sent back a heart. A purple one. The same color she used for science notes. Over the next week, I began withdrawing in small, practical ways. I removed my card from the lunch account. The school system sent Melissa an automatic notification because she was the primary parent. She called 3 minutes later. I let it ring. I canceled the automatic payment for the after-school arts program, but I paid through the end of the month so Sophie would not be embarrassed. I sorted the key ring by the back door and removed Melissa's emergency key. I wrote a list of everything in my house that belonged to Sophie: rain boots, spare sweatshirt, clarinet reeds from when she almost switched instruments, a toothbrush, a small tin of hair ties, the allergy-safe snacks she liked, the fleece blanket she used during movie nights. I packed the practical things into a tote bag. The sentimental things stayed on my table for 2 days. That was the hardest part. Not the money. Not the driving. Not even the public erasure. The hardest part was deciding what to do with love that had nowhere safe to go. June Patterson came over that Friday. June ran the children's room at the public library where I had worked part-time after leaving the school system. She had a smoker's laugh, though she had never smoked, and a way of looking at you that made lying feel like wasting both people's time. She brought lemon bars in a tin. You look terrible, she said when I opened the door. Come in. She stepped into the kitchen and saw the tote bag, the envelope, the stack of printed bank records. Ah, she said. So we've reached the paper stage. What does that mean? It means a woman has been hurt long enough to start organizing. I laughed for the first time in days, though it came out rough. She sat at my table and read the badge. Her face hardened. Who gave you this? The school. Melissa's records made it. June held it by the corner like evidence from a minor crime scene. Volunteer driver. I did drive. Linda. I'm trying to be fair. You are trying to be small because being accurate would require anger. I looked away. June softened. Does Sophie know? She knows something. Melissa is telling her I'm upset about Carol. Of course she is. I showed her the screenshot. June read it twice. Likes feeling useful, she said. That's a sentence people use when they want the benefit of your love without owing respect for it. I pressed my fingers against my eyes. I don't want to abandon Sophie. You can love a child without letting her mother rent your heart for free. That sounds too simple. It's not simple. It's just true. June reached into her bag and pulled out a flyer. The library board approved the Thursday Reading Mentor program. We need someone steady. Not flashy. Someone kids trust. I was going to ask you next month, but maybe I should ask now. I looked at the flyer. Reading buddies, after-school literacy support. Children from the district could come for help with reading, homework, quiet time, snacks. Volunteers would be trained, background checked, given official badges. I don't know, I said. You don't have to decide today. I've spent years showing up for one child. And you did that beautifully. It feels wrong to show up for other children if I'm stepping back from her. June leaned forward. No. It feels unfamiliar to give care where it won't be used to erase you. I picked up the flyer again. The sample badge at the bottom read, Reading Mentor. Not driver. Not non-family. Mentor. A role with edges. A role someone had to ask you to accept. That night, Melissa showed up again. This time she did not have coffee call energy. She looked tired. Truly tired. Her hair was pulled back too tightly, and there was a stain near the cuff of her blouse. For 1 second, I saw the young woman she had been after Sophie was born, standing in my doorway with spit up on her shoulder and terror in her eyes. Then she spoke. You removed your card from Sophie's lunch account? Yes. Her mouth opened slightly. Without telling me? You received notice. That's not the same as telling me. You changed school records without telling me. Her face hardened. We're back to that. We never left it. She stepped inside though I had not invited her fully. Old access is bold that way. I need you to stop escalating this. What have I escalated? You're canceling things. Ignoring calls. Making Sophie anxious. You're forcing me to explain adult conflict to a child. No. You're choosing an explanation that protects you. She cried yesterday. That one hit. I held the back of a chair. What happened? She thinks you don't want to see her. Did you tell her that? I told her you need space. Melissa. What? You do need space. From you. Not from her. You can't separate those. Yes, I said. That is exactly what you've been doing for years. She stared at me. I continued before courage had time to drain out. You separate my labor from my place. My money from my name. My love from my title. My presence from your public story. You've been separating things very efficiently. Her lips parted, then closed. For a moment, the whole room seemed to listen. Then she said, quieter, you don't understand what it's like. That sentence changed the air because it was the first thing she said that did not sound rehearsed. What is like? To have everyone watching. To be divorced, working, raising a kid, competing with women who have husbands at home and mothers nearby and money they don't talk about. You think I wanted to need you? There it was. Need. Not love. Not appreciate. Need. I would not have judged you for needing me, I said. You say that. I lived that. No, she snapped. You got to be the sweet one. The patient one. The one who never has to make hard decisions because you can swoop in and be helpful, then go home to your quiet house. The unfairness of that nearly took my breath. My quiet house, I said slowly, is quiet because your father died in it. She flinched. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because some truths should not be walked around forever. I said, I did not swoop in. I came when you called. I came when you forgot. I came when you were overwhelmed. I came when Sophie needed someone. And I came even when you made it clear I should not expect to be named. Melissa's eyes shone, but whether from anger or shame I could not tell. You always make yourself the martyr. No. A martyr stays on the altar. I'm stepping down. She looked at the tote bag on the floor. What is that? Sophie's things. Her face went pale. You packed her things? The practical ones. Her boots, sweatshirt, snacks, toothbrush. That's cruel. No. It's accurate. She looked toward the hallway where Sophie's old drawing still hung near my pantry. So that's it? You're done? I thought about that word. Done sounded clean. I was not clean. I was aching everywhere. I am done being used without being acknowledged. She loves you. I know. Then why are you doing this? Because she is old enough to learn that love should not require someone to disappear. Melissa covered her face with one hand. For a second, I almost moved toward her. Comfort is a reflex, especially for women trained to notice the moment everyone else is becoming uncomfortable. But I stayed where I was. When she lowered her hand, her voice had changed again. Colder. I guess June got in your head. I laughed once. There it is. What? If I think clearly, someone else must have done it for me. I didn't say that. You never say the thing directly. That's what makes it tiring. She picked up the tote bag. I'll take this. I nodded. At the door, she turned. Are you coming to Sophie's spring concert? I had expected that question. I had rehearsed every possible answer while folding the spare sweatshirt. Yes, I said. Her face softened in relief, but I wasn't finished. If Sophie invites me. Melissa's jaw tightened. She's 12. I manage her calendar. Then manage it accurately. She left with the tote bag. The next morning, I went back to Maple Ridge Middle School. Not angry. Not calm either. There is a middle state people do not talk about, where you are shaking inside but still able to find parking, gather papers, and speak politely to office staff. Mr. Alvarez was not available at first. I waited on a wooden bench under a display of student poems about spring. One poem was titled Daffodils Don't Ask Permission. I read it 6 times. When he came out, his eyes recognized the seriousness before I said anything. Ms. Harper. I need to change my status in Sophie Reed's school records. He motioned me into his office. I'm not her legal guardian, I said once we Saturday. I understand that. I'm not asking for access I'm not entitled to. He nodded. I need to remove myself as an approved pickup adult. He sat back slightly. Are you sure? No. But I'm doing it. That made him pause. I appreciate the distinction, he said. I also need to confirm I'm not attached to any payment accounts through the school portal. Payment systems are separate, but we can give you the district billing number. And if Melissa wants me added back? She would need to submit a request. And I would have to agree? For emergency contacts, no, the parent can list names. For pickup authorization, they list the adult, but the adult doesn't sign acceptance. I felt the old trap open. So she can use my name for pickup even if I ask not to be used? He frowned. Technically, yes, but if there's a safety concern or an adult requests removal, we can add an internal note. Please add one. What should it say? I looked at the edge of his desk. A paperclip sat near his keyboard, bent slightly open. Ms. Harper requests not to be used for routine pickup or emergency release without direct verbal confirmation from Ms. Harper. He typed it exactly. Then he printed a form and slid it toward me. The form was plain. Boring. The kind of paper no one imagines will change a family. Name. Relationship to student. Reason for update. I wrote. Linda Harper. Non-family adult. Request removal from pickup authorization. My pen hesitated over the reason. I did not write family conflict. I did not write disrespect. I did not write because a child's mother wants my labor but not my name. I wrote. Personal boundary. Mr. Alvarez witnessed my signature. When he took the form, he said, "Ms. Harper, I'm sorry this has become painful." I stood. It was painful before. Now it's documented. I went next to the district billing office, a low building behind the high school with bad lighting and a waiting room that smelled like copier toner. A woman named Denise printed my account history after checking my ID and confirming the last 4 digits of the card. "You've been paying quite a bit," she said. "Yes. Do you want all recurring payments cancelled?" I thought of Sophie's art program, her viola rental, lunch money, field trip. "Yes," I said. "Effective after already paid balances are used." Denise nodded without judgment. I loved her for that. On the way home, I stopped at the post office. Inside my purse was a small padded envelope containing Melissa's house key. I had wrapped it in a piece of paper and written, "This belongs back with your family records." I almost added more. I almost wrote, "Please explain this to Sophie gently." I almost wrote, "I loved being trusted with this." I almost wrote, "You have no idea what you are losing because you keep measuring the wrong things." In the end, I sealed the envelope with only the key inside. At the counter, the clerk asked if I wanted tracking. "Yes," I said. I wanted proof it arrived. Not for court. Not for drama. For myself. By then, the story Melissa told had begun moving faster than I could correct it. Priya sent no more screenshots, but I saw small changes in the pickup line. Women who used to wave now looked at me with careful sympathy or avoided looking too long. One father I barely knew said, "Hope everything works out," while loading a trombone into his minivan. Melissa had not made a public announcement. She would never be that crude. She let things leak through concern. Linda is having a hard time adjusting. Linda got attached. Linda means well. Linda is sensitive about Carol. Linda has been wonderful, but boundaries are healthy. Words like that are soft enough to pass as kindness and sharp enough to cut a person out of her own story. Then Carol posted another photo. It was an old picture from the science fair, cropped tighter than the one before. Sophie stood in front of the board. Melissa stood beside her. Carol leaned down as if she were helping adjust a label. But I knew the original picture because I had taken it. In the original, Carol was not adjusting the label. I was. Carol had stepped into the frame later and placed her hand near the board right before the photo was taken. In the posted version, my arm was gone. The caption read, "Nothing like getting back in time to make memories that matter. My girls. My girls." The phrase should not have hurt me. I knew I had no claim on that word. But I also knew who had driven to buy the yellow ribbon on that board. I knew who had held Sophie while she cried over moldy bean sprouts. I knew who had cleaned spilled soil out of my dining room rug. I did not comment. That became one of my quiet victories. Not correcting every lie. Not because the lies did not matter, but because my life could not become an unpaid job of repairing other people's captions. I stopped going to pickup line. For 3 days, I heard nothing from Sophie. Then a letter arrived. Not a text. A letter. The envelope was addressed in pencil, my name written with the kind of pressure that nearly tears paper. There was no return address, but I knew the handwriting. Inside was a single sheet from a school notebook. Nana Lynn. Mom says I should give you space, but I don't know what that means. Did I make you feel like you weren't family? I didn't mean to. Grandma Carol says things are complicated because adults have history. I don't know what history I did. I miss doing homework at your table. I miss the square crackers. My viola concert is April 18th. I want you there, but Mom said I shouldn't pressure you. Love, Sophie. At the bottom, she had drawn a tiny bean sprout bending toward a sun. I sat down on the stairs because I did not make it to the kitchen. That letter nearly ended my boundary. I could have driven straight to Melissa's house, knocked, hugged Sophie, apologized for making anything hard, and resumed my old place. That is the dangerous thing about love. It can make mistreatment feel like a price worth paying if the alternative is a child's sadness. I called June instead. She listened while I read the letter aloud, my voice breaking twice. When I finished, she was quiet. Then she said, "What do you want to do?" "I want to go." "To the concert?" "Yes." "Then go." "I thought you'd tell me not to." "I'm not your conscience. I'm your friend. I don't want Melissa to think she won." June snorted. "Won what? A middle school concert?" "You know what I mean." "I do. And here's what I think. Boundaries aren't supposed to turn you into someone colder than you are. Go because Sophie asked. Sit where guests sit. Don't drive. Don't pay. Don't beg for a label. Just show up as yourself. As yourself. That sounded simple until I tried to do it. On April 18th, I wore a soft blue sweater Sophie once said matched my eyes. I arrived 10 minutes before the concert, late enough not to be asked to help set up, early enough not to appear dramatic. I entered through the main lobby and approached the check-in table. A different student volunteer searched the badge box. "Linda Harper?" "Yes." She found a badge and handed it over. "Visitor." "Nothing else. Just visitor." It should have hurt less than driver. It did not. But it was honest. I clipped it to my sweater and went inside. The reserved family section was marked with paper signs. Carol was not there. Melissa sat alone near the front, scrolling on her phone. There was an empty chair beside her. She saw me. For a moment, her face did something complicated. Relief, pride, resentment, maybe shame. She lifted one hand slightly, indicating the empty seat. I did not take it. I sat 3 rows behind her, on the aisle. A woman from the PTA leaned over and whispered, "There's room up front." "I'm fine here," I said. Sophie walked in with the orchestra, searching. Her face moved over the front row, paused on her mother, then kept going. When she saw me, her mouth trembled. I smiled and touched 2 fingers to my heart. She looked down quickly, pretending to adjust her music stand. The first song was terrible. All middle school orchestra music is an act of community mercy. The violin scraped, the cellos lagged, and somewhere a flute joined, though I do not believe flutes belonged in the piece. I loved every second. Afterward, families gathered in the cafeteria for cookies and photographs. I stayed near the doorway, unsure what was allowed. Sophie came toward me first. Not running. She was too old to run in public. But walking fast, viola case bumping her knee. "You came." "I was invited." She looked confused. "By me?" "Yes." That seemed to matter. She hugged me hard. I held her with one arm because the viola case was between us. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss you too. Mom said things are different now." "They are." "Because of Grandma Carol?" "No." She pulled back and looked at me with Peter's eyes. "Not biologically, of course. But expressions travel through households, not just blood. She had his worried squint. Then because of me? I knelt a little, though my knees objected. Never because of you. Then why can't you pick me up anymore? Across the room, Melissa had seen us. She began moving toward us, slow but direct. I had about 10 seconds. Because grown-ups have to be careful not to use love in unfair ways, I said. And I needed to stop being used unfairly. Sophie's face tightened, not fully understanding but feeling enough. Did Mom use you? Melissa arrived before I could answer. Soph, go grab a cookie. I need to talk to Linda. Sophie looked between us. I asked her a question. Melissa's smile was thin. And now I'm asking you to get a cookie. Sophie did not move. That was new. Melissa noticed too. Sophie. The old command. Sophie looked at me. I said, it's okay. She walked away, but not far. Melissa's voice dropped. What was that? A conversation. She is a child. Yes. She doesn't need your version. She asked for the truth. She asked because you've made her anxious. No. She asked because she's old enough to notice when adults hand her missing pieces and call them protection. Melissa looked around. People were close enough to see expressions, not hear words. That mattered to her. You sitting back there was unnecessary, she said. I sat where I belonged tonight. What is that supposed to mean? It means I came as Sophie's invited guest. Not your emergency plan. Not your mother's replacement. Not your behind-the-scenes help. Her eyes flashed. You think you're being dignified, but you're being cruel. I learned the difference recently. From June? From a badge. She inhaled sharply. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. Not the large one with my documents. A smaller one. What is that? A copy of the payments I've cancelled, so you have time to update your accounts. Her face went still. Linda, not here. It's just paperwork. The callback landed. I saw it. She took the envelope quickly, as if afraid someone would recognize it. You're really doing this? I have done it. Do you have any idea what my schedule looks like? Yes. Do you know what this will do to Sophie? I know what pretending did to both of us. Her voice shook. You're making me the villain. No. I'm declining the role you gave me. Sophie returned with a cookie she had not bitten. Melissa tucked the envelope into her purse, smoothing her expression so quickly it was almost impressive. Great job tonight, baby, she said. Sophie looked at her, then at me. Can Linda come for ice cream? Melissa's answer came too fast. Not tonight. I said nothing. Sophie's shoulders fell. I touched her arm. Another time, if your mom says yes and you want to invite me. Melissa's eyes narrowed at the last part. If you want to invite me. Not if she needs childcare. Not if Melissa has a call. Not if Carol cancels. If Sophie wants me there. That became my new rule. The next pressure point came from something ordinary. A permission slip. Sophie's class had a field trip to the county nature center, the kind of trip where children identify pond water samples and come home smelling like mud. I knew about it because Sophie had mentioned it at the concert, saying she hoped she would not get assigned to the group with two boys who thought frogs were weapons. 3 days before the trip, Sophie texted me. Do you have my inhaler form? I stared at the screen. I did. Or I used to. For years, Melissa had kept copies of Sophie's asthma action plan in 3 places, her kitchen drawer, the school nurse's office, and my glove compartment. When Sophie was little, she called it the breathing paper. I replied, your mom should have the current one. Sophie, she can't find it. Then she said maybe you still have a copy. I went to the hall drawer where I kept Sophie's old medical forms, birthday candles, spare batteries, and Peter's fountain pen. The asthma form was there, folded in half, from the previous school year. Not current. I texted Melissa, I only have last year's asthma form. You need to submit the current doctor-signed version for the field trip. She answered 20 minutes later. Melissa, can you just drop what you have at school? It should be fine. I looked at the message for a long time. Should be fine was how Melissa described anything she wanted someone else to absorb if it was not fine. I wrote, it is not current. They may not accept it. Melissa, Linda, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I did not respond. The next morning, the school nurse called me. Ms. Harper? This is Nurse Jill at Maple Ridge. Sophie gave us your name and said you might have her asthma paperwork. My stomach tightened. I have an old copy. I'm not her legal guardian, and I don't want to give you outdated medical information. There was a pause. That is the right call, Nurse Jill said. I closed my eyes. The right call can feel terrible. I'm sorry, I said. You don't need to apologize. We'll contact her mother. That afternoon, Sophie texted. I can still go. Mom found it. Then. She was mad though. Then. Not at me, I think. I wrote, I'm glad you can go. Take your blue jacket. It gets windy near the ponds. She sent back, you remembered. I typed and deleted 3 answers before sending. I remember a lot. That evening, Melissa called. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. You could have just given them the form, she said. No. It was in your drawer. It was outdated. It would have bought me time. It would have put my name behind medical information I knew was not current. You're really enjoying this new rules thing. I sat down slowly. No. I hate it. She went quiet. I said, I hate that being responsible now looks like being unkind because I spent so many years covering for you. I didn't ask you to cover for me. Yes, Melissa. You did. You just called it helping. She hung up. I stared at the phone. Then, for the first time, I did not feel the urge to call back and soften what I said. For 2 weeks, the house was quiet in a way I had once feared. No after-school backpack slumped by the pantry. No viola tuning videos playing from my laptop. No sticky notes on the fridge reminding me that Sophie hated canned peaches. No Melissa texts at dawn. Quiet has layers. At first it feels like punishment. Then it becomes space. Then, if you are patient and lonely enough not to fill it with old noise, it becomes yours. I went to the library on Thursdays. June handed me a badge on my first day. The lanyard was green. Linda Harper. Reading mentor. I ran my thumb over the words longer than necessary. Don't cry on the badge, June said. Ink probably runs. I'm not crying. Of course not. The children came in small waves. A second grader named Milo who guessed every word by looking at the first letter. Twins who argued over who got the beanbag chair. A 4th grade girl named Amara who read beautifully but so quietly the words seemed embarrassed to exist. I did not love them the way I loved Sophie. That would have been dishonest. But I liked them. I liked helping in a place where help had a beginning and an end, where parents signed forms, where June thanked volunteers at staff meetings, where my name appeared on a schedule because my time belonged to me before I gave it. The first Thursday, after the children left, June found me reshelving picture books. You okay? Yes. You say yes like it has corners. I'm learning. She leaned against the shelf. Has Melissa called? 6 times. Answered? No. Planning to? Eventually. June nodded. Good. You don't think I should block her? Not unless you need to. This isn't about winning a silence contest. That was why I trusted her. She never tried to turn my pain into performance. The call I finally answered came on a Tuesday afternoon in early May. I was planting marigolds in the front bed because Peter had always planted them too close together and I wanted to make the same mistake. My phone rang on the porch. Melissa. I almost let it go. Then I wiped my hands on my jeans and answered. Hello. For a moment, there was only breathing. Linda, she said, and something in her voice made me stand straighter. What happened? Nothing. I mean, Sophie's fine. Then what? I need to ask you something, and I need you not to hang up. I'm listening. I have a work event Thursday. Not just a call. A dinner. It's important. Carol was supposed to come, but she canceled because of something with her homeowners association. Eric is out of town. I tried Madison's mom, but she has soccer. I know this is awkward, but can you pick Sophie up and keep her until 9? There it was. The old shape, returning as if nothing had changed. I looked at the marigolds, bright and crowded in their tray. No. Silence. Linda. No. This isn't about me. It's Sophie. Then ask Sophie who she wants to stay with and arrange it through a parent who has not been publicly minimizing the person she's asking. That's not fair. It is very fair. You said you love her. I do. Then how can you refuse? Because love is not an emergency service you can disrespect until needed. Her breath caught. I apologized. No, you didn't. I said maybe I handled the badge thing badly. That is not an apology. That is weather. Weather? Something that happened with no one responsible. She was quiet. I could hear car noise behind her. She was probably in a parking lot, sitting in the driver's seat between appointments, the way she always called when she wanted a conversation contained. Finally, she said, "What do you want me to say?" I don't know. That's part of the problem. Can we talk after Thursday? No. You won't help because I haven't found the perfect words? I won't help because you still think words are the fee. What does that mean? It means you think if you say enough of the right thing, I'll go back to doing what made your life easier. I'm not asking for a sentence, Melissa. I'm asking you to understand what you did. I know what I did. What did you do? She exhaled sharply. I changed a school form. I almost hung up. Instead, I said, no. What do you mean, no? That is not what you did. That is one receipt for what you did. I don't have time for riddles. Then you definitely don't have time for me. I ended the call. My hands shook afterward. Not because I regretted it, but because doing a new thing with an old heart is exhausting. That Thursday, the school called me at 5:22 p.m. I recognized the number and felt the ground tilt. Ms. Harper? This is Denise from Maple Ridge Aftercare. Is Sophie all right? Yes, she's safe. I'm sorry to call you, but Sophie asked if we could contact you. We're having trouble reaching Ms. Reed. I closed my eyes. What's going on? Aftercare ended at 5. We've called her mother and grandmother. No answer from Ms. Reed. Miss Carol Reed says she's out of state. Out of state. Of course. We saw your name in an old note, Denise continued. But there's also a current internal note saying release requires direct confirmation. My own words came back. Direct verbal confirmation. What time is it? 5:24. Sophie had been waiting 24 minutes. Can you put Sophie on? A pause. We can let her speak briefly. Then Sophie's voice. Nana Lynn? The old name went through me like a hand through water. I'm here. Mom's not answering. I know. Can you come? I pressed my palm to the kitchen counter. This was the moment people like to imagine as simple. Say no and prove your boundary. Say yes and prove your love. But real life does not divide cleanly like that. Listen to me, I said gently. I'm going to call your mother. If I cannot reach her, I'll call the school back and make sure you are safe. I am not ignoring you. Are you mad? No. Do you still want me? I bent over as if something had struck my ribs. Yes, I said. Always. But I cannot be used the old way anymore. She sniffed. Okay. I'll call back. I hung up and called Melissa. No answer. Again. No answer. I texted, Maple Ridge called. Sophie is waiting. I am not authorized for routine pickup. Call the school immediately. Then I called Mr. Alvarez's office. He was still there. Ms. Harper, he said carefully. I know I requested removal. I also know a child is waiting. We cannot release her to you without parent confirmation because of the current note. I understand. Even as I hated it, I understood. Boundaries are not real if they bend only when guilt arrives. Can you keep her safely until Melissa answers? Yes. We would not leave her alone. If we cannot reach a guardian, protocol is to contact the district family liaison. Please tell Sophie I called and that she is not in trouble. I will. At 5:41, Melissa called. Her voice was breathless and furious. What did you do? I stood very still. What did I do? The school won't release Sophie to you. No. The school won't release Sophie without your authorization. I was in a presentation. My phone was on silent. You told me Carol was covering. She canceled. And you did not make another plan. I called you. I said no. You knew I needed help. You knew you needed childcare. Stop using corporate words. This is my daughter. Yes, I said. She is. The line went quiet. I could hear her breathing change. I'm leaving now, she said. Good. Linda. I waited. Her voice cracked, not much, but enough. She was crying. I know. Does that make you happy? No. It makes me sure. Sure of what? That I should never have been the person standing between your forgetfulness and her fear without being allowed to tell the truth about it. She said nothing. I added, drive safely. Then I hung up. That night, I did not sleep. Not because I thought I had done the wrong thing. Because even right things can hurt innocent people on their way to becoming necessary. At 11:08, Sophie texted. I'm home. Then. I know you called. Then. Mom cried in the car but said it was allergies. I smiled despite myself. I wrote, I'm glad you're home. She replied, I kept thinking about the plants. The one with no light got weird but it was still alive. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I wrote, it was reaching. She sent back, yeah. A week passed before the final piece arrived. Not from Melissa. From an email forwarded by mistake. That sounds convenient, but mistakes often happen because people are careless with those they are used to overlooking. It came from a woman named Angela Moss at Melissa's company. I recognized the company domain because Melissa had asked me years earlier to proofread a bio for their sales leadership page. The email subject line was Women in Leadership Dinner, Nominee Family Feature Draft. I opened it because my name appeared in the preview. Linda can confirm this timeline if needed. The message chain was between Melissa, Angela, and someone from HR. Angela had written, Melissa, the committee loves the angle of you balancing regional sales leadership as a single mother without local family support. Before we finalize the program booklet, can you confirm no family caregivers were part of Sophie's school routine? The line about building everything alone is powerful, but we want to be accurate. Melissa's reply. Yes, that's accurate. My mother recently re-entered our lives, but day to day it has been me. My dad's wife, Linda, helped occasionally with driving because she enjoys being useful, but she was not a family caregiver. My dad's wife helped occasionally. Enjoys being useful. Not a family caregiver. Below that, Angela wrote, Thank you. We'll keep the wording. With no regular family support nearby, Melissa built a life where her daughter saw independence modeled every day. The email had been forwarded to me because Melissa added me to a later thread asking if I had any photos of Sophie from elementary school that might be used in the slideshow. She had forgotten to delete the earlier conversation. That was the final reveal, though it did not feel like a twist. It felt like a lock clicking open. Carol's return had not caused my erasure. The badge had not caused it. The school form had not caused it. Those were only visible parts of a story Melissa had been telling for a long time. She needed me in practice and absent in narrative. She needed me to pick up Sophie, pay the fees, sit through fevers, remember inhalers, buy science supplies, answer calls, hold backup keys, and carry all the invisible scaffolding of a life. But for the version of herself she wanted applauded, I had to become occasional help. A driver. A useful woman. My dad's wife. I printed the email. Then I placed it in the envelope with the badge, the payment list, the screenshot, the cropped photo, the school removal form, and the copy of Sophie's old birthday card. Not because I planned to expose her publicly. Because I needed one place where the truth existed in the order I had lived it. The next day, Melissa came to my house. She looked smaller. That is a strange thing to say about a grown woman in a tailored coat, but it is true. Some people shrink when the story they control starts developing witnesses. I opened the door but did not step aside. She held her phone in one hand. You got an email, she said. Yes. That was internal. It was sent to me. By mistake. Yes. Her eyes searched my face. Are you going to send it around? No. Suspicion flickered. She did not know what to do with restraint anymore. Then what do you want? I looked past her to the driveway where Peter once taught Sophie to ride a scooter. She had fallen, scraped both knees, and screamed until I brought out popsicles. Melissa had been inside on a work call. That memory, like so many others, had no official record. I wanted to understand, I said. Now I do. She swallowed. It's not what you think. It is almost exactly what I think. You don't understand what that award meant. It was visibility. It was promotion track. It was a story. She looked at me. It was a story, I said. And I made the story inconvenient. Her eyes filled. I have worked so hard. I know. I did raise my daughter. Yes. I wasn't lying about loving her. No. Then why are you acting like I'm some monster? I'm not. You are. No. A monster wouldn't have needed to tell herself it was practical. She went still. That landed differently. I stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind me. The morning was cool. A delivery truck rumbled by. Somewhere, a lawn mower started too early. "I think you were ashamed," I said. Her face tightened. "I think you were ashamed that you needed me after spending years keeping me at the edge. I think you were ashamed that your father's second wife was more reliable than your mother. I think you were ashamed that your independent life had help in it. So you turned me into something smaller than I was, because that made your story easier to carry." A tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it angrily. "You always sound so reasonable," she said. "Do you know how infuriating that is? I'm not trying to be reasonable. I'm trying not to be cruel. Maybe cruel would be easier. It usually is." She looked toward the side yard, where Sophie's old chalk drawings had long since washed away. "I didn't mean to hurt her." "I believe you. I didn't mean to hurt you like this either. That part I'm less sure about." She nodded as if accepting a sentence. "I don't know how to fix it," she said. For the first time, she sounded like the girl Peter worried about. Not a villain. Not a mastermind. A woman who had built a public identity out of private omissions and finally discovered that omissions are load-bearing. "I don't think you can fix it back," I said. Her mouth trembled. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm not returning to the old arrangement." "Can you still see Sophie?" "If Sophie wants, and if it is honest." "What does honest mean?" "It means she invites me because she wants me, not because you need coverage." Melissa looked down. "It means if I attend something, I am not hidden." She nodded once. "It means you stop calling my relationship with her occasional." Her eyes closed. "And it means you tell her the truth in a way a 12-year-old can understand." "What truth?" "That I stepped back because I was being treated unfairly. Not because I stopped loving her. Not because of Carol. Not because Sophie did anything wrong." Melissa whispered, "She'll hate me." "No. She'll be disappointed. There's a difference. She might choose you." I sighed. "That is the fear that made you do most of this." She looked at me then, really looked. And I saw it. Not all of it, but enough. Melissa had not only feared being judged as a mother. She had feared being replaced in her daughter's heart by the woman who kept showing up. So instead of becoming more present, she made me less visible. It was terribly human. It was still wrong. "I don't want her to choose," I said. "I never did." "I know," Melissa said, and for once I believed she meant it. She asked to come inside. I said no. That was another first. Not forever. Just no. Some doors need to remember they are doors. The Women in Leadership dinner happened without me doing anything. Melissa did not win the award. I did not know that until Priya texted me 2 days later, saying she heard from another parent that Melissa had withdrawn her nomination before the dinner booklet went to print. No scandal. No public collapse. No dramatic exposure. Just a quiet withdrawal with a polite explanation about family matters. That felt right. Not satisfying in the cheap way. Satisfying in the way a crooked picture finally stops pretending to hang straight. A few nights later, Sophie called me from Melissa's phone. "Can I come over Saturday?" she asked. "Did your mom say you could ask me yourself?" "Yes." "Do you want to?" "Yes." Then yes. She arrived Saturday with a backpack, her viola, and a plastic container of cookies she had baked badly but proudly. Melissa walked her to the porch but did not come in. Sophie stepped inside and looked around as if checking whether her things had been erased. They had not. The drawings still hung. The square crackers were still in the pantry, though slightly stale. The bean sprout birthday card was back in the box because some evidence is too tender to leave in the open. We made tea. Sophie did homework at the kitchen table. No one mentioned Carol for an hour. Then she looked up from her math worksheet. Mom told me she made you feel like you didn't count. I kept my pen still. What did you say? I said that was dumb because you counted to me. I had to look away. She cried, Sophie added. I imagine that was hard. It was weird. I bet. She said she was scared people would think she couldn't do things by herself. That sounds true. But nobody does everything by themselves. I smiled a little. No, they don't. She said she made you smaller in the story. That phrasing was too adult, probably Melissa's, but I appreciated that she had tried. And what did you think? I asked. Sophie pressed her pencil eraser into the paper until it bent. I think she made herself smaller too. Out of the mouths of children, not innocence exactly, but accuracy before adults teach it to dress nicely. We did not resolve everything that day. Real relationships do not heal because one person finally says the better sentence. Sophie still looked uncertain when my phone buzzed. I still felt my body tense when Melissa's name appeared. There were awkward transitions, new calendars, new rules. Sophie came over every other Saturday for a while. Then some Wednesdays, if she asked by Tuesday, and Melissa confirmed without drama. I attended her spring art show as Linda Harper, guest. Not front row. Not hidden. Just present. Carol visited twice more that year. The first time, Sophie told me, Grandma Carol took me shopping but didn't know I hate glitter shirts. We laughed. Not cruelly. Just enough. Melissa and I did not become close. That may disappoint people who like stories tied up with repaired dinners and group photos. But peace is not always reunion. Sometimes peace is a room where no one is asking you to misname yourself. By summer, I was at the library every Thursday. The Reading Buddies program grew from 6 children to 18. June claimed it was because of the flyers, but I knew it was mostly because parents talked. Children talked too, but more honestly. They told each other the story lady had snacks and did not get mad if you read slow. One afternoon, Milo, the second grader who guessed by first letters, managed to read an entire page without guessing dragon for every word starting with D. He looked up at me, shocked by himself. I did it. You did. Can I read it again? Please do. He started from the top, louder this time. That was the first day I forgot to check my phone for 3 full hours. In July, Maple Ridge sent volunteer appreciation certificates to local community partners. Mine arrived at the library in a white envelope. June handed it to me with exaggerated ceremony. I opened it, expecting a generic certificate. It read, with appreciation to Linda Harper for consistent support of student literacy and care. Consistent support. Not occasional. Not useful. Not behind the scenes. Consistent. I took the certificate home and placed it on the mantel near Peter's photo. Not centered. Not framed in gold. Just there, leaning against a small vase of marigolds that had survived my overcrowding. That evening, Melissa called. I answered because answering no longer felt like surrender. Hi, she said. Hi. Sophie wants to invite you to her birthday dinner next week. That sounds nice. She wants it at your house. I looked around my kitchen, the room where so much of my life had happened without witnesses. What do you want? I asked. There was a pause. I want to say yes because she wants it, Melissa said. And I want to admit I'm nervous because it means I don't control the room. That was the most honest sentence she had ever given me. I can host dinner, I said. Small. You, Sophie, me. If Carol is in town, Sophie can invite her too. Another pause. Are you sure? No, I said. But I'm willing. She laughed softly, surprised. Okay. Melissa? Yes? No speeches. No performance. No making this a symbol. Just dinner? Just dinner. Okay, she said again. Just dinner. Sophie turned 13 at my kitchen table. We had spaghetti because she requested it, garlic bread because I believed birthdays required garlic, and a lopsided chocolate cake Sophie frosted herself because she liked controlling the sprinkles. Carol was not in town. Melissa brought flowers, not grocery store apology flowers, but marigolds from a nursery because she remembered Peter liked them. That mattered. Not enough to erase. Enough to notice. After dinner, Sophie opened gifts. Melissa gave her headphones. I gave her a hardbound field journal for plants with thick paper and a green ribbon marker. Inside the cover, I wrote, "For Sophie, who knows how to grow toward light." She read it and leaned against me without speaking. Melissa saw. This time, she did not look away. Later, after they left, I cleaned the kitchen slowly. A little sauce had splattered near the stove. Sprinkles glittered under the table. Sophie had forgotten her sweatshirt on the back of a chair. I picked it up and held it for a moment. Then I did not put it in the old emergency basket. I folded it and placed it on the chair by the door, where she could get it next time. Not because I expected to be needed. Because she was welcome. There is a difference. Months later, when the school year started again, Sophie asked if I would come to the fall orientation. "Your mom should go," I said. "She is. I want you both." The old Linda would have said yes before the sentence finished. The new Linda checked her calendar. Thursday. Reading buddies. "I can come for the first half," I said. "I have the library after." Sophie grinned. The story lady has fans. Apparently. At orientation, the school used printed name tags instead of badges. A table near the entrance had markers and blank stickers. No categories. No portal labels. I wrote my own name. Linda Harper. That was all. Melissa arrived with Sophie. She looked at my tag, then at me. "Good," she said softly. One word. No audience. No decoration. Good. Carol's name was not on any chair. Mine was not either. We sat together in a row of folding chairs among dozens of other families, none of them knowing how much history can fit on a sticky name tag. Halfway through the principal's talk, Sophie leaned across her mother and whispered, "Nana Lynn, do you have gum?" Melissa looked startled. Not angry. Startled. The name had returned by accident, the way real things often do. I had gum, of course. I passed a piece over Sophie's shoulder. Melissa watched the exchange, then faced the stage again. For a second, I thought that would be the whole moment. Small. Quiet. Enough. Then Mrs. Donnelly, the new homeroom teacher, came down the row with a clipboard. "Just confirming family contacts for Sophie Reed," she whispered. "Mother is Melissa Reed. Grandmother is Carol Reed. And Linda Harper is listed as." She hesitated, scanning the page. Melissa looked at me. Then she looked at Sophie. For once, she did not reach for the easiest lie. "Linda has been there for Sophie longer than I was willing to admit," Melissa said quietly. "Please list her as a family contact for school events. Not emergency pickup. Not without asking her. But family contact." Mrs. Donnelly nodded and wrote it down like it was ordinary. It was not ordinary to me. Sophie went very still beside us. I did not look at Melissa right away. I looked at the clipboard, at the ordinary black ink moving across an ordinary school form. Family contact. Not because I begged for it. Not because I kept paying for it. Not because I made myself useful enough to earn it. Because for once, someone said the true thing while other people could hear. That was not a grand apology. It did not undo the badge, the form, the screenshot, the cropped photo, the email, the years of being useful and unnamed. But it was a small place where the truth was allowed to stand without being pushed back down. I have learned to respect small places. 2 weeks after orientation, Sophie had another small school project. Not a science fair this time. A simple language arts assignment called Someone Who Helped Me Grow. Each student had to write one page about a person who had changed them, then display it on the hallway board outside the library. Sophie did not tell me about it. Melissa did. She sent me a photo on a Friday afternoon. At first, I only saw the title at the top of the page, written in Sophie's careful purple marker. Someone Who Helped Me Grow. Under it was a drawing of a bean sprout bending toward a yellow sun. Then I read the first sentence. My Nana Lynn taught me that plants grow toward light, and people do too. I sat down before I finished the paragraph. Sophie had written about burnt Valentine cookies, square crackers, the zoo train, the asthma form, the science project, and the way I always told her that mistakes were not proof you should stop trying. Near the bottom, she had written. Some people help loudly. Some people help so quietly that other people forget to say their names. I do not want to forget. And at the very end. Thank you, Nana Lynn, for helping me grow toward light. I pressed the phone against my chest. No award dinner, no family badge, no company booklet, no social media caption had ever given me what that one crooked purple sentence gave me. It did not give me ownership. It did not make me her legal grandmother. It did not erase what had happened. But it gave my love a place to stand where no one had cropped it out. The envelope still exists. The badge, the records, the screenshot, the printed email, the school form, the copy of Sophie's old birthday card, even Carol's cropped photo. I keep it in the bottom drawer of my desk under tax papers and appliance manuals. I do not look at it often. I do not need to. But I keep it because women like me are often asked later if things were really that bad, if maybe we misunderstood, if maybe grief or age or loneliness made us dramatic. Paper does not remember everything. But it remembers enough. On Thursdays, I wear the green library badge. Linda Harper. Reading mentor. Sometimes I catch sight of it in the dark window after the children leave, and I think about the old blue badge with its cloudy plastic and careless words. Volunteer driver. How small it looked. How much it revealed. A badge cannot decide who you are. But it can show you who someone else is willing to let you be. The last message from Melissa that I did not answer came almost a year after the award night. It was not cruel. It was not urgent. It said, I found an old photo of you and Sophie at the zoo. She's missing her front teeth. I don't think I ever thanked you for that day. Under it was a picture. Sophie at 6, sunburned nose, pink hat, one hand gripping mine, the other pointing at a giraffe. I remembered that day. Melissa had canceled at the last minute for a client lunch. Sophie cried in the driveway, and I took her anyway. We ate overpriced pretzels and rode the little train twice. She fell asleep in the car holding a plastic giraffe that squeaked if squeezed. I looked at the photo for a long time. Then I saved it. I did not answer immediately because not every message needs to become a door the moment it arrives. The next morning, I wrote back. I remember. She was happy. Melissa replied. Yes. She was. That was all. And for once, all was enough. Now, when people ask if I have grandchildren, I do not freeze. I do not over-explain bloodlines, marriages, divorce, grief, school forms, or the complicated architecture of stepfamilies. I say, there's a girl I love like one. Sometimes that is enough for strangers. Sometimes it is enough for me. On the first Thursday of October, Milo asked if the story lady had always been a story lady. I told him no. What were you before? He asked. I thought about the old kitchen calendar, the drop-off lane, the science board, the badge, the key in the padded envelope, the school office, the company email, the cropped photo, and the purple sentence Sophie had written on the hallway wall. Thank you, Nana Lynn, for helping me grow toward light. I was a lot of things, I said. Like what? I opened the book in front of us. Like someone who always came when people forgot. He considered this with the seriousness of a child deciding whether an answer counts. Do you still do that? I smiled. Not always. He nodded, satisfied, and began reading. Outside the library windows, the afternoon light came through the maple trees in pieces. Children's voices rose from the hallway. My phone sat in my bag, silent. My green badge rested against my sweater, exactly where anyone could see it. Linda Harper. Reading mentor. Not driver. Not occasional help. Not someone's hidden backup plan. My name, my role, my time. And this time, when the badge caught the light, I did not tuck it away.